It is lesson 5 this time, and we're going to discuss about creatures that produce their own light. They bioluminesce.
You may all have seen the sparkle of fireflies on a summer's night. The fireflies produce light through a chemical reaction in their growing abdomens, a process known as bioluminescence. But did you know that seascapes can also glow and glitter thanks to the light producing abilities of many marine organisms? Some fish dangle a light lure in front of their mouth to attract prey, for example, the Dragonfish, which you can see right here, while some squid shoot out bioluminescent liquid instead of ink to confuse their predators. Worms and tiny crustaceans also use bioluminescence to attract mates. But what is bioluminescence? Bioluminescence is the production and emission of light by a living organism. It is a form of chemiluminescence. Bioluminescence occurs widely in marine vertebrates and invertebrates as well. In some fungi, microorganisms including some bioluminescent bacteria and terrestrial arthropods such as fireflies. In some animals, however, the light is bacteriogenetic, produced by symbiotic bacteria. Symbiotic, which means good bacteria which actually benefit the animal as well. In others, it is the autogenic production by the animals themselves. In a general sense, the principal chemical reaction in bioluminescence involves a light-emitting molecule and an enzyme, generally called luciferin and luciferase, respectively. The uses of bioluminescence by animals include counter-illumination, camouflage, mimicry of other animals, for example to lure prey, and signaling toward an individual of the same species, such as to attract mates. Bioluminescent organisms produce and radiate light. There are thousands of bioluminescent animals, including species of fishes, squid, shrimps, and jellyfishes. The light of these creatures emit is created inside their bodies, meaning they are able to glow and glitter in complete darkness. Some of the planet's bioluminescent animals live in the deep oceans. Many exist in the twilight zone, the part of the ocean from 500 to 1000 meters deep, which is always dark in the lower margin. In this environment, the light some animals can create for themselves is fundamental to survival. It is thought that up to 90% of all life in the twilight zone creates light in some form. Bioluminescence is a cold light. Cold light means less than 20% of the light generates thermal radiation. Bioluminescence is not the same thing as fluorescence. However, fluorescence does not involve a chemical reaction. In fluorescence, a stimulating light is absorbed and re-emitted. The fluorescing light is only visible in the presence of the stimulating light. The ink used in highlighter pens is fluorescent. Phosphorescence, however, is similar to fluorescence, except the phosphorescent light is able to re-emit light for much longer periods of time. Glow-in-the-dark stickers, for example, are phosphorescent. But the always question comes in our mind. Doesn't if you know what is actually bioluminescence for? Why is it used? Any idea why is it used? Bioluminescence, or for example, why do animals light up? So actually animals can often control when they produce light, and they make use of it in many different ways. Even in one organism, bioluminescence can have multiple uses. In the deep sea, light is used to attract prey or a mate, to frighten away predators, to observe surroundings, or like the bobtail squid and lanternfish for camouflage and protection. Some fungi emit light permanently, such as this one which you can see in the image right here, even in daylight, but many animals use bioluminescence in short bursts. Fireflies flash brightly to attract mates, whereas jellyfishes do the same thing to startle predators. Some beetles use light to make themselves look a little larger, and anglerfish uses a light organ to attract their prey. So the first reason here is animals use bioluminescence for feeding. Animals can use their light to lure prey towards their mouth or even to light up the area nearby so that they can see their next meal a bit better and brighter. Sometimes the prey being lured can be small plankton like those attracted to the bioluminescence around the beak of the Strotetis octopus, but the light can also fool larger animals. Whales and squid are attracted to the glowing underside of a cookie cutter shark, the one which you can see in the picture right here, which grabs a bite out of the animals once they're close. The deep sea anglerfish lures prey straight to its mouth with a dangling bioluminescent barbel lit by glowing bacteria. It also used in protection. Often animals use a strong flash of bioluminescence to scare off an impending predator. The bright signal can startle and distract the predator and cause confusion about the whereabouts of its target. From small copepods to the larger vampire squid, this tactic can be very useful in the deep sea. It is also used in counter-illumination camouflage. It is really fascinating. This right here, which you can see in the picture, is a firefly squid. So bioluminescence can also be used to help camouflage with the use of counter-illumination. Photophores on the bottom side of an animal can match the dim light coming from the surface, making it harder for predator searching for prey from below to see what they are looking for. As you can see, if you have got, for example, the weak eye of a deep sea predator looking up above, such as the barrel-eye fish, you won't be able to distinguish which one is, the clear sky and which one is a squid when it's light up. But once it's not light up, for example, this one on the right, the one of a normal squid, you can easily see the shadow, and that means your target is set. In many animals of the deep sea, including several squid species, bacterial bioluminescence is used for camouflage by counter-illumination, in which the animal matches the overhead environmental light as seen from below. In these animals, photoreceptors control the illumination to match the brightness of the background. The light organs are usually separate from the tissue containing the bioluminescent bacteria. However, in one species, Euprynma scolops, the bacteria are an integral component of the animal's light organs. So the animals get these bacteria by eating, for example, plankton, or by other creatures that already have the bacteria present in them. So they use their bacteria as well for their own use and safety. It is even used for attraction and defense, or sometimes mimicry as well. A fungus gnat from New Zealand called as Arachnocappa luminosa lives in the predator-free environment of caves, and its larvae emit bluish-green light. They dangle silken thread that glow and attract flying insects, and wind in their fishing lines with prey, and when the prey comes and it gets tangled. Fireflies use light to attract mates. Two systems are involved according to species. In one, females emit light from their abdomens to attract males. In the other, flying males emit signals to which the females respond. Click beetles emit an orange light from the abdomen when flying and a green light from the thorax when they are disturbed or moving about on the ground. However, the larvae of the click insects live in the surface layers of termite mounds in Brazil, and they light up the mounds by emitting a bright greenish glow which attracts the flying insects on which they feed on. However, in marine environments, use of luminescence for mate attraction is chiefly unknown among ostracods, small shrimp-like crustaceans, as you can see in the left side below under the dragonfish. Bioluminescence may be used to lure prey or search for prey as well. The most famous predator to use bioluminescence may be the anglerfish, which uses bioluminescence to lure prey. The anglerfish has a huge head, sharp teeth, and a long, thin, fleshy grout called filament on the top of its head. On the end of the filament is a ball called esca that the anglerfish can light up. Small fish, curious about the spot of light, swim in for a closer look. But sometimes curiosity leads to doom. They light up the mounds by emitting a bright greenish-light glow, and of course, by the time the prey sees the enormous dark jaws of the anglerfish behind the bright esca, it is too late. Other fish, such as type of dragonfish called loose jaw, use bioluminescence to search for prey. Loose jaws have adopted to emit red light. Most fish can only see blue light, so loose jaws have an enormous advantage when they light up a surrounding area. They can see their prey, but their prey cannot see them. But actually, who makes these lights? For example, the Hawaiian bobtail squid has a special light organ that colonized by bioluminescent bacteria within hours of its birth, but usually the animal itself contains the chemicals necessary for the reaction that produces bioluminescence. Most deep sea animals produce some bioluminescent light, but the phenomenon isn't legit to the deep. One of the most common sightings occurs at the surface of the ocean. Many small planktonic surface dwellers, such as single-celled dinoflagellates, the one which you can see on the top right, are bioluminescent. When conditions are right, dinoflagellates bloom in dense layers on the surface of the water, causing the ocean to take a reddish-brown color in the daylight and a sparkling sheen as they move in the waves at night. But again, how it's made? Animals can actually control when they light up by regulating their chemistry and brain processes, depending on their immediate needs, whether a meal or a mate. They can even choose the intensity and color of the lights. Bioluminescence occurs widely among animals, especially in the open sea, including fish, jellyfish, comb jellies, crustaceans, and cephalopods. Mollusks, we can say. In some fungi and bacteria, and in various terrestrial invertebrates. But again, it is also used in defense. Some squid and small crustaceans use bioluminescent chemicals or bacterial in the same way as many squid use ink. A cloud of luminescent material is expelled, distracting or repelling a potential predator, while the animal escapes to safety. Dinoflagellates, again the one which you can see on the top right, may use bioluminescence for defense against predators. They shine when they detect a predator, possibly making the predator itself more vulnerable by attracting the attention of predators from higher trophic levels. Grazing copepods release and phytoplanktonic cells that flash. Unharmed, if they were eaten, they would make these copepods glow, attracting predators. So the phytoplankton's bioluminescence is a defensive strategy. It is also used in mimicry, but before we get to that, there are more defensive techniques as well. The sea firefly is a small crustacean living in sediment. At rest, it emits a dull glow, but when disturbed, it darts away, leaving a cloud of shimmering blue light to confuse the predator. Some species luminesce to confuse attackers. Many species of squid, for instance, flash to startle predators such as fish. With a startled fish caught off guard, the squid tries to quickly escape. The vampire squid exhibits a variation of this defensive behavior. Like many deep sea squid, the vampire squid lacks ink sacs. Squids that live near the ocean's surface eject dark ink to leave their predators in the dark. But how does that work in the deep sea when there is no light at all? So black ink, the seawater is the same color, so it doesn't matter. Instead, the vampire squid ejects sticky bioluminescent mucus, which can startle, confuse and delay predators, allowing the squid to quickly escape. Many marine species use a technique called counter-illumination to protect themselves. Many predators such as sharks hunt from below, so they look above, where sunlight creates shadows beneath prey. Counter-illumination is a type of camouflage against this predatory behavior. Hatchet fish use counter illumination, but again hatchet fish have bright producing organs that point downwards. They adjust the amount of light coming from their underside to match the light coming from above. By adjusting their bioluminescence, they disguise their shadow and become virtually invisible to predators looking up. Some bioluminescent animals, such as brittle stars, can detach body parts to distract predators. The predator follows the glowing arm of the brittle star while the rest of the animal crawls away in the dark. Some insect larvae also light up, such as the one on the right below. So, it is actually to warn predators that they are very toxic. Toads, birds and other predators know that consuming these larvae will result in illness and possibly death. What about mimicry? How does mimicry work in saving the animal from being eaten or save the animal by not starving to death? Bioluminescent is used by a variety of animals to mimic other species. Many species of deep sea fish such as the anglerfish and dragonfish make use of aggressive mimicry to attract prey. They have an appendage on their heads called anestica, as I said earlier, that contains bioluminescent bacteria able to produce a long-lasting glow which the fish can control. The glowing esca is dangled, or waved about the lure small animals to within striking distance of the fish. The quick-cutter shark, for example, uses bioluminescence to camouflage its underside by counter-illumination. But a small patch near its pectoral fins remain dark, appearing as a small fish to large predator fish like tuna and mackerel. Swimming beneath it, with such fish approach their lure, they are bitten by the shark. So that was a very clever technique. Female fortress fireflies sometimes mimic the light pattern of another fireflies to attract its males as prey. In this way, they obtain both food and defensive chemicals named lucibufagens, which that particular species cannot synthesize. Has evolved independently many times during the history of life on Earth, which means many different species develop the ability to produce light separately. The light that living creatures can produce is created by a chemical reaction. For this reaction to happen, a plant or animal must carry a molecule called luciferin, plus one of the two enzymes called luciferase and photoprotein. When luciferin chemically reacts with oxygen, it releases energy in the form of light. Different animals and plants contain different types of luciferin. The most common light produced in the oceans is green and blue, as these wavelengths travel further through water, and some fish can also create red light, though it is much rarer, and on land fireflies glow yellow. Because in the oceans, most fish cannot actually see red light. That's why, for example, scientists use red light to see and not disturb the animals in their natural habitat while they do their research. But how is it made? Bioluminescence occurs through a chemical reaction that produces light energy within an organism's body. For a reaction to occur, a species must contain luciferin, as I said earlier, a molecule that when it reacts with oxygen produces light. There are different types of luciferin which vary depending on the animal hosting that reaction or the species, and many organisms also produce the catalyst luciferase, which helps to speed up the reaction. Catalyst means a chemical that speeds up a particular reaction. Who makes it? Bioluminescence is found in many marine organisms: bacteria, algae, jellyfish, worms, crustaceans, sea stars, fish, and sharks, to name just a few. In fish alone, there are about 1,500 known species that luminesce. In some cases, animals take in bacteria or other bioluminescent creatures to gain the ability to light up. For example, this bobtail squid. Bioluminescent light. The appearance of bioluminescent light varies greatly depending on the habitat of the organisms and also the organisms in which it is found in. Most marine bioluminescence, for instance, is expressed in the blue-green part of the visible light spectrum. These colors are more easily visible in a deep sea. Also, most marine organisms are sensitive only to blue-green colors. They are physically unable to process yellow, red or violet colors, as I said earlier. Most land organisms also exhibit blue-green bioluminescence. However, many glow in the yellow spectrum, including fireflies and the only known land snail to bioluminesce, Quantula strata, native to the tropics of Southeast Asia. Few organisms can glow in more than one color. The so-called railroad worm, actually the larva of a beetle, may be the most familiar. The head of the railroad worm glows red, while its body glows green. Different luciferases cause the bioluminescence to be expressed differently. This here is the railroad worm. Tiny living lights. As well as animals, many minuscule plant-like species and fungi can also create bioluminescence. About 75 species of fungi are capable of giving off an airy green light, possibly to attract insects, which will help to spread their pores. Most of these species live in tropical rainforests. Dinoflagellates make light shows on the surface of the ocean. These tiny single-cell organisms get their energy from sunlight, like plants do. Actually, they are like plants and animals. They have got the same characteristics as both of them. But when disturbed, these gatherings of microbes create beautiful light patterns in oceans all over the world. Bacteria can shine both on land and underwater. They can live independently in seawater or sand, or inside a bigger organism. For instance, the bobtail squid host bioluminescent bacteria, Vibrio fischeri, in their underbellies. The bacteria get food from the squid's body, and in return they emit a blue light which can appear to travel in waves along the squid's body, helping with camouflage. Yes, now we'll be going through some of the most famous species of bioluminescent creatures. Firefly squid, Atoller jellyfish, black dragonfish, glowworms, common eastern firefly, burrow jelly, comb jelly, headlight beetles, and Myosina chlorophyllus, which is actually the fungi. Firefly squids. Bioluminescence is light produced by chemical reaction within the living organism. The bioluminescent beauty in a firefly squid, a tiny cephalopod about 8 cm or nearly 3 inches long, native to the waters of Japan. What it actually does is, as I mentioned earlier, it actually mimics the light which comes from above. The animals such as the barrel-eye fish, very rare, have got eyes that only look upwards. And when they look up, they actually cannot see properly if the squid is indeed a squid or just the plain sky. Because until the shadow doesn't, appear on the surface, you cannot disguise whether it's a squid or it's nothing at all. So it's left safe. And I've got actually, their lifespan is very short. Once they are 1 year old, the females mated come ashore to lay their eggs, and most of them are also named as a very delicious delicacy as well. So they have got, as we said earlier, they have got the counter-illumination camouflage, and that helps them a lot to escape from predators that look upwards and look for a meal that is easily seen. While a study shows, and it's research as well, that those species of squid that do bioluminesce, say as the firefly squid, they are less likely to be hunted, while the ones which cast a shadow on the surface are much more easily hunted by those creatures. Atoller jellyfish. They normally look like the one which is seen with a torch, reddish and bluish. The Atoller jellyfish has adopted a safety response to avoid predation. When Atoller jellyfish is attacked, it produces an array of blue light flashes. It is because of these blue flashes that Atoller jellyfish has been nicknamed the alarm jelly. It is believed that the purpose of these flashes is to attract a bigger predator, not to eat itself, but it is an attempt to scare the predator that is currently attacking it with a larger predator that could possibly prey on the predator attacking it right now. So this over here is for defense, but it's around the most extraordinary light shows I've ever seen. More like we can say deep sea fireworks actually. Here we have got the black dragonfish. All these creatures you see here may sound like mythical creatures, but indeed they also look like one. It is believed that the fish can use these flashlights in the dark waters to attract prey and even to signal potential mates. The dragonfish has a large head and a mouth equipped with many sharp fang-like teeth. So that's what we can see. Each and every single one of them, whether it's the vampire squid, dragonfish, anglerfish, all of them have got extraordinary mythical names, but they also look like those mythical creatures. Look at this real looking dragonfish. But when they light up, they have got this very fascinating, beautiful colors that instead of running away from it, I would be attracted as well. Glowworms. The glowworms emit a pale light which attracts insects towards the sticky thread of their scare. You know, the snare. But how does it work? They mostly light up only at night. Just imagine, you are an insect and you know you're just being born in a cave. Most insects actually fly upwards towards the sky, but what's above them in the cave is not an starlit sky. It is actually a death trap equipped with sticky threads that the glowworms emit, and once the insect is stuck, there's no escape. Common eastern firefly are fireflies that use light to attract mates. Two systems are involved according to species. In one, females emit light from their abdomens to attract males. In the other, flying males emit signals to which the females respond. Again, fireflies also have got different species. Some of them like to stay in at least some lighted area, while some only like to light up themselves in the darkest night and in the darkest places, while also some of them like to light up on the forest canopy as well. But isn't these creatures just fascinating? Firefly, dragonfishes, vampire squids, again, they are like mythical creatures, and indeed they look like one as well. Just like a science fiction. How can creatures, just produce light? Isn't this just amazing? The burrowed comb jelly, another really beautiful and fascinating creature. You can see how it lights up. Very beautiful, like vein-like wavelengths. They actually produce when the cilia beat. Light is scattered, producing a rainbow of colors. The beating combs act like prism, breaking the light into its color components. This is one of the most beautiful bioluminescent creatures, in my opinion. Just such a small jellyfish, but has a very beautiful coloring ability. Just imagine, instead of having a lamp in your home, you would have just aquariums of comb jellies. How beautiful would that be? The headlight beetle again. Its luminescent larvae are either soil-dwelling or found in tunnels in the outer layers of termite mounds, and active predators of other insects. During summer nights, when their regulated glow acts as a lure to their prey, they are actually, you may ask, why are they found in termite mounds? There's no use being. Actually, in the mostly we can say nuptial flights of insects such as ants and termites happen in summers. And actually, being in a termite mound, because like the queens and kings, once the nuptial pet happens, are actually very interested in well lighted areas. And so it's not a light which will help it to attract its mate, but it's a death trap. A trap with beautiful green colors. But if you look at it, even the termite mound actually looks like an apartment to the human point of view. But it's not termites having a party or having them lighter while reading a book. It's actually these creatures that are looking to make a meal out of these insects. The next here is the Myosina chlorophyllus, which is actually a species of fungi that glows as well. Each night they emit a steady green light out into the darkness in an effort to attract beetles and other insects which get attracted to it, and so move their pores from one place to another. But again, if I wish I could have one of these in my home, then I wouldn't need to use light at all. But just again, we can see the power of nature, just how fascinating things, and how, like, first we're told that bioluminescence is just, an accident of evolution, but now we realize that each and every single animals use the light production ability for their own benefits and for fascinating things to do. The next is a very fascinating animal called as a lanternfish. Lanternfish use bioluminescence to protect themselves from predators. By lighting their bodies, their silhouette is less visible from below. Flashlight fishes, or as said lanternfishes, have special pouches of glowing bacteria under their eyes. When they want to turn on their lights, they lower the folds of the skin below each eye, and sometimes they actually use it to confuse the predators. With using infrared light, we can see over here how the fish looks whitish, but over here it's actually not that visible. So you can see this one actually has blinked, so each time that the fish turns direction to confuse its predator, it actually blinks, so it will be a blink of light and it changes the direction. And it also uses the same way for example, in a dark night when we, for example, lose something, we take a torch and look for it. They also use these lights to actually look for food on the sea floor, as you can see over here. So again, over here also bioluminescents have got some fascinating displays, and again, although named like some mythical creature, they actually look like one, and they may not look like realistic, but all these images are actually real. And now we are on the drawing time. Let's draw a firefly squid.
Thank you for joining this lesson. Hope you enjoyed, and make sure you click on that subscribe button, like and share, so we can reach a higher audience, and of course be able to reach more people and spread awareness and help them learn about the natural world. Be curious, love the natural world, and protect it.